I'm honored to invite the IPEC Commissioner, Dr. Grace Muradzikwa, to come and give us her keynote address. And for the Commissioner, you clap until she takes a place at the podium.
Allow me not to ride on protocol. I think it's important that I acknowledge all of you, starting with the Secretary for Finance, Economic Development and Investment Promotion, represented here this morning by Mrs. Fambai. Thank you very much for representing our principal. Let me also acknowledge you, Elias Omondi, the Principal, Sustainable Insurance at FSD Africa. Thank you for joining us virtually, just taking the time to be with us. Nicola Bears, you know, we've come a long way. Is it Cocteau? I know, I'll get that right. Yes, thank you very much for flying in and all the support that you've been giving us. Let me also acknowledge our peer regulators. We always really feel warm, you know, when we have our friends and colleagues with us. And this morning, we are joined by Central Bank, represented by Mr. Amon Chicha. We also have the Securities and Exchange Commission. And by the way, I really need to acknowledge that our Central Bank, they do have a regulatory sandbox. So I think we are actually joining Central Bank in also launching a regulatory sandbox. And I think we need to appreciate that they were actually the first to the market in providing this sandbox for the banking sector. Mr. Mute, I even wondered, I thought you were taking over from me. You know, the way you delivered that really very excellent speech. And my takeaway was a sandbox activity report in the IPEC reports. If it's a new report, it also shows that nothing is happening around innovation. I think that's a very good suggestion that we will take up. Thank you very much, Say. Let me also acknowledge the industry captains. And I also thought as I was going through the salutations, we don't have NASA and medical aid. Let's appreciate our policymakers for expanding our mandate. Let me also acknowledge the representatives from the University Innovation Hubs, representatives from all the other innovation hubs. Maybe special mention, Mr. Tawanda Mshawedu, founder and CEO of Zimbo's Abantu. Thank you very much for joining us. I always see the cap that makes you stand out amongst others, and Madam Diana Omoza, founder and CEO for Obic Business Solutions. I think they've been walking this journey with us, so we need to give them special acknowledgements. Let me also acknowledge the members of the Fourth Estate. It's always good to have you because of your very, very important role. We count on you, and I will be speaking to that later on. The IPEC management and staff, you know, for all the hard work, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, it is indeed a wonderful morning for us, for the industry, for all of us at the Insurance and Pensions Commission. And on behalf of IPEC, it is my distinct honor and profound pleasure to welcome every one of you to this landmark occasion, the official launch of the Insurance and Pensions Regulatory Sandbox. And this is not merely a ceremonial event today. We open a new chapter in the story of insurance and pensions in Zimbabwe, one that is defined by innovation, inclusion, and intelligent regulation. To our esteemed colleagues from the innovation hubs, to the insurers, to the reinsurers, to the brokers who form the backbone of our industry, to the insurtechs, the fintechs, the technology partners who are redefining what financial services should look like, you are most welcome. Your presence here today is itself a testament of intent, and we are deeply grateful for it. We also want to warmly welcome our researchers, the academics, the consumer advocates, and every individual who has an idea. We often talk about light bulb moments, but today we want to recognize everybody who has an idea, however nascent, that could transform the insurance and pensions landscape. You belong in this room. You belong in this conversation. And so let me speak to the context. Why today matters. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here today at a critical inflection point for our industry and indeed for our nation. Insurance and pensions are not just abstract financial instruments, though some people think like that. They provide safety nets that protect families when misfortune strikes, mechanisms that secure retirement dignity for our workers, and contribute capital for economic development. Yet in Zimbabwe, as in many developing economies, we face a persistent and very troubling reality. Large portions of our population remain outside the formal insurance and pensions ecosystems. Financial inclusion in insurance is not simply a regulatory aspiration, it is a moral imperative. When a smallholder farmer cannot access crop insurance, when an informal trader at Mbare or Gazaland has no protection against loss, and a customized pension suited to their income reality, we have failed our fundamental mandate as a sector. We must acknowledge with candor that the traditional regulatory model may not on its own be sufficient to solve these challenges in an era of digital disruption, in an era of AI. As a regulator, we face the dilemma. On one hand, we are protecting and we need to protect our policyholders. We have a mandate to protect consumers, and we also have a mandate to maintain market stability. On the other hand, we have a mandate to enable growth and experimentation for genuine progress. And so as regulators, we are tempted to respond to this tension by defaulting to restriction. So understand us sometimes, though the application of existing rules rigidly to new products and services that were never contemplated when those rules were written. So the result too often is stifling of innovation and the loss of opportunity. But at IPEC, today, we are choosing to build a bridge between regulation and innovation. And that bridge is the regulatory sandbox. And so, what is the regulatory sandbox? And Mr. Mute, we are certainly not playing in the sand. Let me define what it is and a little bit about the purpose of the regulatory sandbox. So let me articulate what we mean by a regulatory sandbox, because understanding the concept is the first step to embracing its potential. Ladies and gentlemen, the sandbox is a controlled environment in which entities or individuals may test new products, they may test new services, they may test technological solutions whose scope of operation is not covered within the existing legal and regulatory framework governing insurance and pensions in Zimbabwe. So think of it as a carefully supervised laboratory where innovations are granted the space to experiment, where innovations are granted the space to iterate and prove the viability of their ideas under our watchful eye, under the watchful eye of the regulator, and with appropriate consumer protection safeguards. The safeguard provides a structured, time-bound, because we can't leave this to be open-ended as well, and principled framework that allows the regulator and the innovators alike to learn together. We want to learn. So gone are the days when we ask you to come and make presentations to us as a regulator. We will allow you to experiment, but under our watchful eye. It also allows us to identify the risks early and gather empirical evidence for informed regulatory decisions. The regulatory sandbox operates under clear and publicly available guidelines issued in terms of Circular 28 of 2025. The guidelines are publicly available on the IPEC website, and I strongly encourage each one of you to study them carefully. We've also developed a dedicated application portal on the same website to facilitate the seamless submission and tracking of these applications. And so I also have some reflections, on the first application cohort. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, candor is a virtue that I hold dear. And so I must be candid with you about one aspect of our journey thus far. And so, following the issuance of Circular 28 of 2025, IPEC opened the first application window from the 1st of November to the 31st of December 2025. We eagerly anticipated a wave of applications that would bring the sandbox to life. Unfortunately, IPEC did not receive any application during the first application window. And we've been reflecting carefully on this outcome, a very disappointing outcome. And we believe perhaps the primary explanation is a lack of awareness about the sandbox, not the absence of innovation, ideas, or willingness. Please tell me this is true. Please tell me it is not an absence of innovation, ideas, and willingness. Please tell me that this very disappointing outcome was just a lack of awareness about the sandbox. Otherwise, we will have a repeat of the same outcome. And so the sandbox guidelines, while published and available, we believe they did not reach the breadth of the ecosystem that it was designed to serve. The application portal existed, but many potential applicants perhaps did not know that it existed. And that's really perhaps to comfort myself and the team at the Commission, that the message had not yet penetrated the innovation community with the agency and clarity that it required. And this also coming at a time when we continue to remind the industry that the motor book was under attack. And it was necessary for us to reflect and come up with new products that would replace the motor book which was under attack. But alas, nothing came. This is precisely why we are here today. This launch is our declaration to the market. The regulatory sandbox, ladies and gentlemen, is open. It is real, and we want your applications. With this formal launch, we are committing, as your regulator, to a significantly intensified awareness and engagement campaign. We want every potential applicant to participate in the sandbox with confidence and clarity. And to the members of the fourth estate, you are not just here to take pictures and audios. We want to encourage you to write articles that raise awareness about the sandbox, objective and expected outcomes of this regulatory tool. Help us to demystify insurance and pensions. And so why should we apply? Why? To the innovation hubs present today, you are the nurseries of Zimbabwe's digital future. The entrepreneurs you support, the ideas you incubate, the talent that you develop. These, to us, are the raw materials of transformation. We ask you to champion the sandbox within your ecosystems. And to our very established market players, the insurers, the reinsurers, and the brokers, the sandbox is not designed only for startups. I get the feeling that it's for startups, but the startups will overtake you if you don't pay attention to innovation. It is equally yours. And I really want to thank you, Mr. Mute. You seemed to understand, you articulated it very clearly, and hence I'm definitely looking forward to you championing the Sandbox, among the insurers. So colleagues, if your organization is a product, an idea that the current regulatory framework does not accommodate, please bring it to the Sandbox and to the insurtechs and fintechs in the room. Like I said, you're the architects of the next generation of financial services. You bring speed, creativity, and user centricity that the industry desperately needs right now. We are your partner in bringing safe, effective innovations to the market. The Sandbox gives you something precious: regulatory engagement and predictability. Instead of building your product in a gray zone and hoping for the best, you can engage with us early, test in a structured environment, and emerge with a clear pathway to full regulatory authorization. That is a significant competitive advantage. To every other innovator, the researcher with a data model, the technologist with AI solutions, the entrepreneur with an idea written in a notebook, we say this to you this morning: if your idea can improve customer experience in our industry, enhance operational efficiency, or advance financial inclusion in the insurance and pension space, IPEC wants to hear from you. The door is open. Innovation does not require a perfect, fully framed solution. We have realized it requires just an idea, a commitment to responsible testing, and a willingness to engage with the regulator honestly. And let me also speak to the national development context. We are a public entity and we have a role within the government space. IPEC's work, including this regulatory sandbox, takes place within the context of Zimbabwe's national development priorities, the aspirations of Vision 2030, a prosperous upper middle income Zimbabwe. A prosperous upper middle income Zimbabwe requires vibrancy, inclusivity, and efficient financial services sector. A very efficient financial services sector. And insurance and pensions have a central role to play in mobilizing domestic savings, managing risks, and building the economic resilience of households and enterprises. So every application we receive in the Sandbox, every innovation we help bring safely to the market, every new customer brought into the insurance and pension system, these are not abstract regulatory statistics. They are real contributions to the economic and social fabric of this beautiful nation. And we take this responsibility very seriously. And as we invite you to take it seriously, we are inviting you to take it seriously with us. And my call to action this morning, ladies and gentlemen, is the moment is now. There is no better time than the present. The regulatory sandbox guidelines are published. The application portal is live. IPEC doors are open. Today's launch event marks the beginning of a new application window. And we are inviting you with enthusiasm, and I do hope I'm speaking with a lot of enthusiasm. And without reservations, colleagues, I'm inviting you to engage. And to those of you who have been developing an insurance or pensions innovation, but you've been hesitating because IPEC is rigid. We are not rigid. Today I'm saying we are not rigid. We are providing you with this window. And if you are unsure of the regulatory pathway, today you have clarity. Please apply. And to those of you who are beginning to explore the ideas, today we are challenging you to be bold, to be imaginative, to look at the underserved, the unserved of our society and ask yourself, what product, what service, what technology could change their lives or could change the insurance and pensions industry for the better. What can improve customer experience so that we are seen differently as a vibrant and forward-looking industry. Please take advantage of the Sandbox. And so let me just briefly speak to the practical next steps. So before you leave this venue today, I would like to ask each of you to take 3 practical actions. 1, visit the IPEC website, www.ipec.co.zw. Download a copy of Circular 28 of 2025, the Regulatory Sandbox Guidelines. Read it, and share it. Number 2, explore the Sandbox application portal. Familiarize yourself with it, with the application process and requirements. And if you have challenges, please engage us. We want your feedback. Lastly, identify at least one person in your network, a colleague, a partner, a peer, who is working on an innovation, who has an idea relevant to our industry, and share today's message with them. Small actions taken today can lead to transformative outcomes tomorrow. We are counting on your partnership to make this Sandbox a genuine success. And so, allow me to close and allow me to express my very sincere gratitude to all who have contributed to making today possible. To the IPEC board, and we do take a lot of guidance from our board. They do apologize. They are not represented today, but they are with us in spirit. We want to thank you for the strategic leadership and governance oversight that underpin everything that we do. And of course, to the IPEC management and staff who work diligently. And if you talk to my team, I'm not a very, very easy leader. They are complaining about work-life balance. They are complaining that I'm a slave driver. But I think it's really in the spirit of serving this wonderful industry. I want to thank you today for the sleepless nights that we are having just to make things happen at the Commission. And I'm not such a bad slave driver. The designing of the application portal, organizing the events, the commitment to regulatory excellence is the foundation of our credibility. I thank you. And to the Center for Financial Regulation and Inclusion, CENFRE, we are deeply grateful. Nicole and Poso. Your deep knowledge of inclusive insurance, the shared learnings, the extensive experience in supporting regulatory sandbox frameworks across Africa have been tremendous in shaping our own regulatory sandbox. Your guidance helped us design a framework that we believe is not only technically sound, but genuinely fit for purpose for the Zimbabwean context. We want to thank you sincerely. To the Financial Sector Deepening Africa, FSD, we extend our sincere thanks. FSD Africa's commitment to building inclusive, well-functioning financial markets across Africa is well known. And Zimbabwe has been a direct beneficiary of that commitment. The financial and technical support provided by FSD in the implementation of this regulatory sandbox has made it possible to move from concept to reality. Your investment in this initiative is, at its core, an investment in the financial well-being of Zimbabweans. And that is the contribution that we do not take lightly. Thank you very much. The partnership between IPEC, CENFRE, and FSD Africa exemplifies what is possible when regulators, when technical experts and development finance institutions work together towards a shared goal. We are proud of this collaboration and we look forward to its continued strength as the Sandbox grows, and Mr. Mute and colleagues, as the Sandbox grows and matures. Ladies and gentlemen, the regulatory Sandbox is now officially relaunched. The future is open. Thank you for your attention.